on again down here. Players and officials and everybody into this one. Right down in front, there's the cans going over the fence. The runners are in, Andrews is in. They're all in. It's going to be, look at this going on out here. Quinton now in the scene. And Parsons going for his life. Didn't want to be in it. Players are laid out. People are laid out everywhere. One of the nastiest scenes I've seen in football.
1974 in round 7, an event happened at this ground that is now etched in folklore. It was a clash of the Sash Jumpers, the Essendon Bombers versus the Richmond Tigers. The game was a stage for a massive all-in brawl that was reported as the most shameful event of the decade and became known as the Windy Hill Brawl. The pre-match reporting hinted that something was brewing between the two sides, with Richmond coming off a humiliating loss from the week before. Our story starts on a cold, windswept Saturday afternoon in the grandstand of Windy Hill.
You can see as you look out there in the west that there's a storm brewing. That storm will arrive later this afternoon, but it's nothing compared to the storm that brewed up on that flank and that wing in 1974.
Richmond's Mel Brown clashed with Essendon's Graham Jenkins as the teams moved towards the locker rooms at the half-time siren. After Essendon runner Laurie Ashley went out of his way to confront and abuse Brown, Brown struck Ashley, starting a 15-minute bench-clearing brawl that involved players, team officials, trainers, fans and police. Richmond's Brian Roberts was left with a broken nose, while Essendon's trainer Jim Bradley and a fan were both knocked unconscious and had to be carried from the arena on stretchers.
Being pushed out of the track now, police trying to break up this very sordid incident at Windy Hill. Mel Brown holding his hands up to the crowd. If that's a gesture of victory, I don't know whether it's good or bad.
Here is the story according to Richmond's rover and acting captain Kevin Bartlett. Richmond's Mel Brown grabbed Essendon's Graham Jerker Jenkins by the balls, recalled Bartlett. Then John Casson came off the bench and jumped on the back of Mel, and then he started throwing punches. That's where it should have ended, but unfortunately the Essendon players got involved because Mel Brown was whacking John Casson while hanging on to Graham Jerker Jenkins' balls at the same time. The fight should have stopped there, but then Richmond players got incensed and had a crack at the Essendon players who were having a crack at Mel Brown, who was still punching John Casson while holding Graham Jerker Jenkins by the balls. Then the Essendon committee got involved. Bartlett's record of events sounded a lot like the nursery rhyme, "There was an old lady who swallowed a fly." By the time the fight was in full flight, Richmond fans were punching Essendon fans who were punching Richmond's committee, who were punching Essendon's committee, who were whacking Richmond players, who were whacking Essendon players, who were whacking Mel Brown, who still had Graham Jerker Jenkins by the balls, said KB. This was the reason it all began. The brawl was the subject of a police investigation. Police charges were laid against 4 players and 3 officials, including 2 assault charges. All players and officials were cleared of these charges on the 11th of September. The VFL demanded that Richmond pay a fine or face indefinite suspension, but the VFL dropped the fine on appeal.
The ground is quiet today. But the ghosts of the past are never far away.
The most shameful spectacle of the decade took place at Windy Hill on May 18, and the repercussions were still being felt in the courts months later. It was a brawl that left a sour taste in everyone's mouths. In a marathon sitting of the VFL tribunal, Mel Brown was suspended for 1 match for assault. Richmond's Stephen Parsons was suspended for 4 matches. Ron Andrews received 6 matches. Essendon physical education instructor Jim Bradley got 6 matches. Essendon runner Laurie Ashley got 6 weeks, and Essendon rover John Casson got off on a striking charge. Such was the fury of the brawl that Richmond's huge ruckman Brian Roberts didn't even think he'd been punched. He thought he'd been kicked in the head by the trooper's horse.
Being pushed out of the track now, police trying to break up this very sordid incident at Windy Hill. Mel Brown holding his hands up to the crowd. If that's a gesture of victory, I don't know whether it's good or bad.